Every Sonic game is supposed to have a gimmick that makes them stand out and make them more interesting slash diverse from other Sonic games, obviously. But which is the best? In this video, let's quickly go over the different gimmicks and see which is the best. Tails was brought for 2 and 3, mainly used to help Sonic get through higher parts of the level. For its time, this was one of the most creative gimmicks ever, and looking at it now, it still holds up. In terms of how fun and useful Tails is, he's very helpful and makes the game a little easier, so I'd say it's good. Time travel was prominent in CD and 06, and each game does a good job at using it. CD used it in the nature versus technology theme and gave you different realities or results depending on how you complete the level, and 06 used it to give us different stories through Sonic, Shadow, and Silver. Both games do time travel justice and not only make the gameplay fun, but help build a good story around it. Playable characters have been in a few games throughout the series, but what I mean is the adventure type of playable characters. The adventure games gave you different playable styles that I honestly wish made a comeback for today's time. Outside of Sonic, you have mech shooting with Tails, treasure hunting with Knuckles and Rouge, or even fishing with Big. These games offer a lot more diversity, which, like I said, I wish came back for future games. Frontiers doesn't count though, like this barely counts. The team mechanic was brought in Heroes, letting you use 3 different characters on a team. One for speed, one for power, and one for flight. This was a great idea, and just like the playable characters, I kinda need more of this. This not only made completing levels easier, but it also allowed for more creative level design, so I put this mechanic in high regard. The boost was brought in rushed and used ever since, pretty much revolutionizing Sonic. The boost got paired with other gimmicks, but at the start, it was still a fun gimmick. Just like the spin dash, it made it easier to plow through enemies, only now you just press one button. It did get nerfed in Frontiers and Forces, but it came back in Sonic X Shadow Generations, and it did not disappoint. If you follow me, you know I love Unleashed. But bias aside, I still like the Werehog. Some people say it slows down the gameplay with its beat-em-up combat and tight platforming, but I don't mind it. For its time, it let the developers be more experimental with open spaces for Sonic, and they did a pretty good job here. And outside of that, it also just added a good challenge, which I still like, regardless of how hard it gets. This isn't really a gimmick that's been heavily advertised, but it's still a gimmick, specifically in Unleashed and Frontiers. This gives Sonic a variety of different combat moves, which makes fighting a lot more interesting than just scratching and homing attacking. I do prefer the Frontier skill tree a little bit more, but Unleashed still has solid and creative moves, which puts this gimmick up there, these two being my favorite for each game. The Wisps were big in colors, but also brought in Forces and Lost World. These are little aliens that give Sonic a little power up, like drilling through walls, creating gravitational pulls, or creating cubes. Now, were they overused? Definitely. But are they still fun, and do I wish new ones were created? Hell yeah. The only games that properly use them are Colors and Lost World, but I also put these up high. Lost World is the only game to use parkour, which pretty much gives Sonic the ability to run up walls. This makes completing levels easier and makes it more fun because it opens up more possibilities. Even though it was only in one game, it was still creative, and I wouldn't be mad if this came back in a future game. Forces is the only game to have the Avatar, possibly one of the most unique gimmicks in the series. The Avatar lets you create your own character with its own unique wisping, varying from burst to cube to lightning, etc. This is definitely one of the most unique gimmicks in the series and still makes for my favorite levels in Forces, so the Avatar is for sure up there for its creativity. Sonic in an open world setting was something I wasn't really hyped for, but after playing Frontiers, it was low-key fun, and it made sense as to why they did this. You get to do a lot more exploration in the game and just run around more freely compared to the linear gameplay we normally get. Nothing much to say, pretty self-explanatory, and I just like it. Superstars is the only game to have the Emerald powers, which aren't bad, just never thought they were all that. The Emerald powers give you different abilities to go through the levels, like creating clones, making vines, turning into a fireball, slowing down time, etc. These were never bad, like I said, just felt more like an option instead of a core gimmick. Compared to the others we've gone over, their home games required you to use the gimmick in order to progress, so it just makes the Emerald powers seem weak. Not bad, just feels like more of an option if anything. The Doom powers and Shadow Generations are pretty recent, so it hasn't had time to marinate, but they're still pretty fun. These give Shadow the ability to launch enemies, shoot chaos spears, surf on water, fly, and even turn into a squid. Outside of how fun it is, I like it for not only feeling important in the levels, but it also distinguishes Sonic and Shadow's gameplay. If I'm being completely honest, Sonic should get something like this in the future, and Shadow should keep this for his future games. Alright, bet, it's time to rank the top 5 gimmicks from this video. For our honorable mention, we have the team-based mechanic from Heroes and the skill tree from Unleashed and Frontiers. On the bottom, we have the open world style from Frontiers. Alright, let's give it up for Frontiers. At 4th, we have the Doom powers from Shadow Generations. Pretty solid, just letting them marinate for a little bit longer. At 3rd, we have the boost from Rush. Revolutionary. Changed Sonic for pretty much the rest of the series. At 2nd, we have the Werehog from Unleashed. One of my personal favorites, but number 1 is still better. And at the top of the pyramid, the wisps from Colors. You know, really fun gimmick. In my opinion, better than the Werehog at sometimes. No, I just wanted to make this quick little video, you know, get back in the YouTube space, and there's more videos to come, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, we're gonna end it right here, and let me know what your favorite Sonic gimmick is. Zazaz out.